Well, this feeding is going to be real interesting. Buckle on your seatbelts, and I apologize for having to do this with only two hands. I'm going to do my best. Sorry, trying to make sure I get it all on camera for you guys. Sorry, one second, bear with me. Oh my goodness, I can't. It won't let go. Oh shit. There we go. So, she can hold her breath under there for about 15 minutes or so. Oh, she pulled the thing off. I'll get that later. She can hold her breath under there for about 15 minutes or so. So, what she'll do is she will constrict the ever-living hell out of this, and this does not do justice. I don't want to stick my hand in there, but these coils are wrapped tight. This is a 10-ounce large rat, and she is completely wrapped around every square inch of it. And I tell you, the pressure that she's putting on that rat now, if it wasn't dead, it would be. I obviously use frozen thawed because it's just better for the animal. There's no risk of the animal getting bitten, less risk of parasites and all that good stuff. So she can hold her breath, like I said, for probably about 10-15 minutes. But what she'll do is, even though she's biting it currently, she'll let go of it and she'll come up to here and take a breath. Now this girl will sit with this rat wrapped up for probably about 40 minutes or so, maybe longer, maybe a little bit less. And by the time she decides, okay, it's time to eat it, that rat will be gone in about 4 minutes. So it's really hard for me to get her actually swallowing it on tape. It's not easy at all because I would have to sit there and watch her. And if I'm watching, she's not doing it. So let me see if I can get a under the water shot. Unfortunately, she's right out of my view to get a real good shot. That sucks. I'm not going to move her, obviously. I'm not going to disturb her. But she's still latched on. So, as I've said in the past, and if you're new, I'm going to reiterate, anacondas have very, very slow metabolisms. Much slower than my other boas. They are not animals that eat frequently in the wild. The larger ones, the adults, obviously they're getting prey items that are at times potentially dangerous with how big they are. Snakes don't always have the best judgment when it comes to the size of prey items, which can lead to them choking, which can lead to their stomach splitting, which can lead to very bad injuries. So when they're in captivity, it is 100% our responsibility to make sure that they are not obese, that they are getting the properly sized meals. And while I know that she could probably easily take a jumbo rat, if not bigger right now, that's not something that I choose to do, because a large rat of this size will leave a substantial lump. Not a huge, massive, bulging, popping lump, but it's noticeable. The rat is roughly as thick as the girth of her body, which is pretty much what I like to chew. Depending on the snake, you know, my red tails, I will go smaller than the girth at times. But with her, I try to keep it equal to the girth of the body. She's 7.5 feet, and a large rat is plenty for her. And I see people that have their anacondas less than a year old, and they're stuffing jumbo rats down their throats every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. Number one, jumbo rats have an asinine amount of fat in them. Much, much, much more than large. She will never be fed jumbo rats as a consistent meal. By the end of her fasting this winter, which will be from November until March, by the end of that fasting, it'll be time for her to bump up from large. And at that point, she's going to be switching to rabbits that are equal to the size of a jumbo rat. Now, once a year, she will probably get a jumbo rat as a treat, just something a little different. I might switch up a few things here and there, but once she's up to prey items that big, she's going to get fed every 6 weeks. And then for the few months between the end of summer and into winter, she'll get them every 4 weeks instead of every 6 weeks, or she'll get them every 3 weeks instead of every 4 weeks, something like that. It's really going to depend. But a jumbo rat, I would never, ever, ever feed less than every 6 weeks. For an anaconda, I would probably do in the 6 to 8 week range, because anaconda's digestive system, their metabolism, is very, very, very slow. And even though they are heavy-bodied snakes, that does not mean they're supposed to be obese. Anacondas are just as much at risk of organ failure and shortened lives due to obesity as any other animal. Any other snake. I've seen 16-foot anacondas that are 150 pounds, that are pure muscle, healthy, beautiful animals. And then I've seen some that are 16 feet and weigh 230, and they are obese, and it's sad. They can barely move. They're holding way, way too much fat. So, just because they're heavy-bodied snakes does not mean they have to be pumped full of food every couple weeks. That was one of the biggest things that I learned in reaching out to some of the experts that work with anacondas. And I see a lot of people proud at their power feeding, and that's something I will never respect. Ever. I mean, you might as well be kicking the snake in the stomach. It may not be as directly abusive, but I don't know about you guys, this has been my dream since I was a kid, and I want her to live as long as possible. And she gets a large rat at 7.5 feet. She's 7.5 feet. She gets a large rat every 4 weeks until the end of summer through the fall. And then she gets them every 3 weeks. And then she doesn't eat for 3 to 4 months. She grew over 2 feet last year doing that. She's going to be pushing 8 feet by her 3rd birthday. And she's pure muscle. Beautiful, gorgeous animal. I can't tell you guys what to do with your animals. And I know the people out there that typically do the worst power feeding are the ones that know everything. They refuse to listen to advice. No one's perfect. Listen, I've made plenty of mistakes. But the trick is, when you are told that you're making mistakes by multiple legitimate, credible sources, it's probably a good idea to look into it and not put your ego in the way of your animals. And there's way too many people doing that. I got told, hey, you're feeding the anaconda too much. I was giving her a medium rat every 10 to 14 days when I first got her, because I was told that that was fine. She grew real quick, but she was getting very unhealthy very quickly. So at that point, I reached out to a couple zoos. I spoke with a couple herpetologists who specialize in anacondas. I've talked to a couple guys that have studied them in the wild that told me that most of the adult females they see will eat 1 to 3 times a year. Granted, that's probably a massive meal. I don't feed massive meals, but she's going to get probably 10 to 12 meals maximum a year. Probably less than that, actually. But the results are going wonderful. Now, if I was feeding her a jumbo rat every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, would she be bigger than this? Sure. She'd probably be pushing 9 feet because her genetics are phenomenal. But at what cost? The way I see it, if you're going to power feed like that and stuff these massive prey items down your anaconda's throats, one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to get lucky and the animal doesn't die at 5 or 10 years old, but then you're going to think that what you're doing is right and you're going to continue to do it, and you're going to inevitably cost your animal its life at some point. Probably multiple animals. And the other option is you kill the animal when it's 5 or 10 years old because you power fed it into organ failure, in which case the animal is also hurt. There's no win in these situations. I personally love learning new things, and if I'm doing something wrong, then I love to hear about it. And if it's something that I don't agree with, I'm not going to tell you, oh, you're stupid. I'm going to look into it further. I'm going to talk to a few of the people I trust. I'm going to try to research. If I have a counterclaim, then we could talk. I know that she can handle jumbo rats, but why? Why do I need to? She's almost 8 feet at 3 years old, and she's pure muscle. She's got a big, gorgeous enclosure to burn off calories, keep that figure, to go swimming. She gets 1 large rat a month for March, April, May, June, July. That's 5 rats. Then August, September, October, November. Let's say we gave her 2 more. That's 11 meals. No more meals the rest of the year. So 10 to 11 meals a year. That still might even be a little much. Now, it's not, hey, let's power feed the snake for 6 months and then starve it for 6 months. It's not the case. Nope. She gets once a month, and then I shave off a week. That'll get her 1 or 2 more meals. Then I fast her for a few months. Very similar to what they get in the wild. That's not identical. There's no such thing as identical to the wild. But it's taking the benefits of the wild with the wet season and the dry season, and where they get more food during this time of year and generally less this time of year. It's what their bodies are evolved for based on what nature has given them. They are specifically evolved to be able to go months without food. And again, I'm not starving it for 6 months. I'm not power feeding it for 6 months. Once a month is the majority of the year. Then there's a short period of time where she gets a couple extra meals, and then she has time to convert that fat into muscle. She's still got some fat on her, but I've had phenomenal results. I'm going to continue to push food cycling, and if not, I'm definitely going to continue to push healthier feeding for anacondas. Having that 250-pound anaconda that is 14 feet, that's not cool. It doesn't look awesome. It doesn't look badass. Oh, look at my huge snake. No. Look at my obese snake. I would rather see a beautiful 120-pound anaconda that's 15 feet. I've seen them 16 to 17 feet and between 90 and 110 pounds, and they're gorgeous, muscular, beautiful animals. There's a gentleman that I reached out to who's a herpetologist at, oh God, I can't remember the zoo, but they have a 15-foot, 10-inch anaconda. She's 160 pounds, and he feeds her once every 6 weeks and then takes her off food for the winter, and he feeds rabbits, lean prey. And he still considers her obese because of what the owners before did to her. And that's 160 pounds. I see people stuffing these massive fat animals down their throats. But, hey, I guess us humans know better than nature. Sometimes we do. But I'd say about 90% of the anacondas that are in captivity are overfed and obese. And that's not a number that I'm pulling out of my ass because I'm far from an expert, but that is a number that I have heard on 9 separate occasions, from zoologists to vets who specialize in big constrictors, to herpetologists who have written books on constrictors. Now, the enclosure size, we may go back and forth a little more on that. This is her 11 by 6 by 6 for a 7.5-foot boa. Excuse me, anaconda is a boa. But this is not going to be her permanent cage if I can help it. 5 years. And then she's getting an 18 by 12 by 6. That's going to be 65%. 65.75% pond, baby. No, I'm just kidding, guys. But seriously, stop power feeding your animals. It's not cute. They don't look cool. You're killing them. And if they happen to live, you know, I guess you could point to your grandpa that smokes 3 packs a day and somehow is still alive at 85. But I'm going to point to the tens of millions of people that have died before the age of 40 because of smoking cigarettes. And obesity due to power feeding is no better. Like, subscribe, share, unsubscribe. I don't care. I love you guys either way. Be safe.